remember a face, but not from this life. She was smiling, but her eyes were asking for permission, not to speak, not to stay, but to break. Something inside her curled at the edges when you said nothing, not out of cruelty, but because silence was truer than any comfort you could offer. And she felt it, the unraveling, the ache to be refused. There is a throne in every woman's heart, but it is not built for love. It is carved for judgment, and the man who climbs it with gifts, with longing, with words is not crowned. He is consumed. But the one who stands beside it, unmoved, watching, becomes the shape she worships in the dark, not because he offers safety, but because he offers nothing, and nothing cannot be betrayed. You've seen this dance before, in her laughter that trembles before your indifference, in her anger that returns when you do not chase, in her softness that sharpens when you walk away. She does not love kindness. She loves gravity. And gravity, my dear, does not beg. She kneels before absence more than presence for what she cannot touch. She cannot control. She speaks with elegance, but listens with calculation. She smiles as if offering peace, but her eyes search for your weakness. Her love is not a gift, it is a transaction, and she is the merchant who never stops testing the coin. You believed that presence would win her, that attention, warmth, and truth might invite her loyalty, but you forgot one thing she respects, only what she cannot grasp. The man who says nothing becomes the echo she cannot silence, and for that, she kneels. You are not her fantasy, you are her mirror, but the mirror only terrifies her when it refuses to distort. Her entire world is built on persuasion curves, softness, charm, illusion. She is rewarded for performance, worshipped for masks, feared for moods. She lives in a palace of reflections where men become warped to match her projections. Yet when she meets you, a man of silence, a man who does not react, something cracks. The floor beneath her becomes unstable. For the first time, she is not seen as she wants to be, but as she truly is. Your silence does not insult her, it undresses her. Every compliment you withhold steals the script from her hands. Every glance you deny starves her of performance. She can wear red lips and break hearts, but in front of you, the stage collapses. She feels absurd, almost invisible. And in that invisibility, she remembers something ancient, the ache of not being able to control what she wants most. You are not rude, you are not cruel, you are simply unmoved. And in this world, that is the rarest form of power. You must understand this. She tests you not because she enjoys the game, but because the game is the only language she knows. She has seen men become obedient under her pout, generous under her tears, and desperate under her withdrawal. But when she pulls away from you and finds only emptiness, no plea, no pursuit, no collapse, she begins to tremble. Not out of pain, out of recognition. This man will not become mine unless I become his equal. And that is a transformation she both craves and fears. You do not owe her understanding. You owe yourself dignity. She will throw storms to see if you bend. She will offer softness to bait your surrender. She may even cry in front of you, hoping you'll break your silence just once to comfort, to explain, to chase. But if you do, she wins the war and loses all interest. It is not your love she wants. It is the proof that your love is not greater than your self-possession. She respects only the man she cannot pull from his center. And yet, paradoxically, she loves you for the very distance that wounds her. Her body leans toward you, but her instincts try to sabotage the approach. She will invent flaws in you, imagine coldness, claim detachment, all to rationalize the fact that you terrify her. Because if you are not seduced by her, then she is not in control. And if she is not in control, then she is exposed. And exposed women become cruel. She will sharpen her tongue, she will mock your calmness, she will question your masculinity. But listen, beneath her accusations there is always a prayer. The prayer is this: do not fall for me, do not need me, do not speak just to soothe me. Because the moment you try to soothe her, you become like the others, bendable, predictable, erasable. You are not her salvation, you are her confrontation, and confrontation, when stripped of violence, becomes the highest form of respect. It means you are not afraid to let her suffer her own illusions. It means you trust her enough to wrestle with her own mind. Most men interrupt this process. They explain, they flatter, they beg, but you do nothing. And in that nothingness, her true nature begins to surface. Do not look at her as a victim of her patterns. Look at her as a creature born into seduction, trained into softness, rewarded for control disguised as vulnerability. This is not her fault, but it is her design, and your silence cuts through it like winter through perfume. She cannot use her usual weapons against you. Her tears fall like snow on stone. Her charm breaks against your indifference. And in this collapse, something honest begins. The honest woman is not the one who speaks, she is the one who surrenders in silence. And surrender only happens when she realizes that you are not hungry for her approval. You do not need her softness to feel like a man. You do not bend for peace. You are peace cold, distant, untouchable. The kind of peace that frightens her. The kind of peace that exposes how loud her life has always been. If she touches you, let her, but do not reach back unless her touch is empty of expectation. If she speaks, let her speak, but do not respond unless her words are free from performance. Your role is not to match her. Your role is to be the void into which she pours her masks until there is nothing left but herself. And in that emptiness, if she chooses to kneel, it will be real. Remember, she kneels not because you are superior. She kneels because you are silent, because you said nothing when she demanded everything, because you saw through the noise and chose stillness, because you loved her soul more than her performance and refused to applaud it. This is the love she has never known, the one that does not chase, the one that does not praise, the one that simply watches and waits. And if she runs, let her. The ones who fear silence will always run toward noise. And the world is full of men who speak too soon, feel too much, give too quickly. Let her find them, let her play, but you stay still, you stay silent, not out of pride, but out of truth, because the man who says nothing has already said everything, and the woman who can hear it is already kneeling. In silence, you become the void that exposes her, not the man she wants, but the silence she cannot lie to. She thought she wanted understanding, but every time you tried to understand her, she grew restless. She recoiled not from cruelty, but from kindness that expected gratitude. The more a man tried to know her, the more she forgot herself, because deep down, she has never truly seen herself. She lives behind layers, polished charm, soft rebellion, elegant rage. But your silence, your quiet gaze that offers no rescue, it reaches beneath the surface. And what it touches, she cannot bear to face. Your silence is not emptiness. It is a mirror with no filter. And when she looks into it, the reflection is unbearable, not because you are cruel, but because you are accurate. She cannot twist it. She cannot soften it. It does not admire her. It does not judge her. It simply shows her, herself. And that is the cruelty. That is the threat. You are the first man she cannot rewrite with emotion. You are the page she cannot scribble her fantasy onto. You are the stillness she cannot seduce into fiction. And so she flinches, not from you, but from the version of herself that only exists in your presence, raw, unspectacular, revealed. Her gestures falter, her rhythm breaks. She may laugh louder, speak faster, lean closer, but it is not connection she seeks, it is concealment. Because silence, in its purest form, is not absence, it is presence without control. And that is what unravels her. You give her nothing to manipulate, nothing to tame, nothing to hold against you. You are not playing her game. You are the board on which the game collapses. She begins to realize the man who says nothing is not weak. He is immune. And immunity is not apathy. It is clarity. You see through the dance. You hear the music but refuse to move. You are the still figure in a room full of performance. And that stillness becomes unbearable because it says, "Without words, I am not here to be entertained." You never ask who she is, and so she becomes obsessed with proving it. You do not chase, and so she runs faster, hoping your silence will break into pursuit. You do not explain yourself, and so she assigns meanings, projects motives, creates stories to fill the void. But the void remains, and that, too, is a mirror. Every story she tells about you reveals only her. Every accusation she makes reveals the hunger she hides. Every insult is a confession. She calls you distant. What she means is you do not orbit her. She calls you cold. What she means is your approval is not available on demand. She calls you heartless. What she means is she cannot extract feeling from you like she has from others. She is not used to men who do not need to be seen. She is not used to men who disappear without explanation. She is not used to being the one exposed. In truth, she has never loved. She has only performed love in exchange for power. Her affection has always come with invisible contracts. If I give you warmth, you must give me your spine. But you don't. You take nothing and give nothing in return. And that neutrality is her undoing. Because in your silence, there is no debt, no leverage, no ownership, only the raw fact of your existence, unmoved by her beauty, untouched by her drama. She begins to panic, not because you're cruel, but because you're still. The room becomes unbearable when she cannot bend it. The silence becomes suffocating when it cannot be broken. So she will provoke you, not to destroy you, but to make you move. She needs to know if you bleed. She needs to know if you'll crack. Because if you crack, she is safe. If you move, she is back in control. But you don't, and that is the wound. Not the words you said, but the ones you never gave her. The approval withheld, the affection unprovoked, the gaze that did not need her to soften. It is not rejection, it is restraint, and that is what drives her mad. Because in your restraint, she realizes something devastating. She is not enough to break you. No man has ever withheld his soul from her, not because they were generous, but because they were starving. Starving for touch, starving for beauty, starving for something to worship, and she offered it at a cost. But you are not starving, you are already full. And fullness, to a woman trained in seduction, is terrifying. What can she offer a man who lacks nothing? How does she control a man who is already free? So she accuses you of arrogance, not because you look down on her, but because you refuse to kneel. You do not ask her to stay. You do not weep when she leaves. You do not tremble when she tests. You remain exactly what you were, whole. And wholeness is what she fears most. Because if you are whole, then her beauty is not necessary. If you are whole, then her chaos is not sacred. If you are whole, then she is not queen. And so she breaks, quietly, slowly, sometimes beautifully. She stops performing. She stops needing to be right. She may not even realize it, but her shoulders relax when you speak less. Her voice softens when you do not respond. She begins to feel a different kind of attention, one that is not bought, not begged, not seduced. She begins to suspect this man could love me without needing me, but that, too, is a test. Because once she realizes you are free, she may try to shackle you with her pain, with her past, with her guilt. She may confess wounds to soften your core. She may offer herself vulnerably, hoping it will tempt your tenderness. And if you flinch, if you reach out too quickly, you will become another man she owns, not because she is evil, but because she cannot help herself. You must remain the mirror, not the savior. If she breaks in front of you, do not rescue her, do not fill the silence, do not offer yourself. Let her see herself. Let her tremble in the clarity of your gaze. Let her choose to become whole or leave to find a man she can manage. You are not there to win her. You are there to see if she can face the truth that love cannot exist where control is king. That admiration cannot be traded for obedience. That the mirror does not lie, even if she looks away. And when she finally stops speaking, when she stops performing, when she meets your silence with stillness of her own, you will know you have not changed her. You have simply outlasted the lie. Her reverence is not for love, but for the power that refuses her, and in that refusal, she feels seen. You gave her nothing, and she gave you everything, and still, you said nothing. Not to hurt her, but because her everything was never yours to accept. She gave herself the way a priestess bleeds before an altar, not out of joy, but necessity. She hoped you would break. She hoped you would speak. She hoped your silence would shatter into need, but it didn't. And in that stillness, she felt a fear so deep she mistook it for worship. She calls it respect, but it is awe, the kind that borders on terror, because in you, she sees the thing that cannot be possessed, the thing she cannot name, cannot soften, cannot predict. You have become the God she created with her own hands, and now she's terrified that he will never speak. And still, she kneels, not to beg, but to understand. She gave you devotion as a trap, to make you grateful, to make you open, but you remained unclaimed. And so she gave more, and more, until her own sacrifice began to disgust her. She wanted to feel holy. She ended up feeling humiliated, not because you mocked her, but because you did not bend. She thought surrender would crown her. She thought that offering herself would flip the power. But your silence held, and in that silence, she drowned. She believed love would consume you, that if she bled enough, wept enough, gave enough, you would finally lower your gaze. But you never did. You watched her devotion, unmoved, and that is when the truth arrived. Love, to her, was always a wager. If I give myself, he must collapse. If I break, he must catch me. But you did not catch. You did not even flinch. And for that, she burned, not in anger, in recognition. You were never seeking her love. You were not there to receive. You were there to reflect. And in the mirror of your restraint, her giving became grotesque. You didn't ask for anything, and that was your cruelty, because she cannot seduce a man who needs nothing. She cannot manipulate a man who expects nothing. She cannot punish a man who fears nothing. And so, with every gesture, every gift, every attempt to break your silence, she broke instead. Her devotion turned to bitterness, not because you betrayed her, but because you did not collapse under her offering, because you would not trade yourself for her pain, because you did not reward her surrender with your own. And yet, somehow, she stays. Not because you pulled her close, but because the abyss in your stillness feels more real than any love she's ever received. You must see it now. She never wanted love. She wanted control disguised as intimacy. And when you refused it, she called you heartless. But heartless men don't listen. You listened. You simply did not react. And that was her sentence. To stand before a man who does not need her softness, who does not chase her sorrow, who does not feed off her wounds. She loved you for your silence and hated you for it, because every man before you spoke when they should have stayed quiet, every man before you gave when they should have withheld, but you waited, not out of strategy, but out of truth. You had no intention of entering her chaos. You were already whole, and that wholeness became a threat, a monument, a mirror. In that mirror, she saw her games fail. She saw her rituals unravel. She saw the futility of her sacrifice. And yet, something deeper awakened, a longing not to be obeyed, not to be desired, but to be seen without power, to be touched without control, to be wanted without conquest. And that longing she cannot fake. It does not perform. It does not seduce. It weeps in silence and asks nothing in return. Do not mistake her quiet for peace. Inside, she is breaking in slow circles. The woman who always won, now paralyzed before the one man she cannot conquer. The queen of persuasion, left wordless, not by cruelty, but by clarity. Because in your refusal, she meets the self she abandoned long ago, the self that wanted to give without leverage, to love without weapon, to fall without negotiation. But even now, she fights it. She tells herself you are cold, that your silence is emptiness, that your restraint is ego. Because if it isn't, then every man she tamed before was not a victory, but a betrayal. If you are right to say nothing, then her entire dance was noise, and that is a truth too heavy to swallow without consequence. So she will try again, one final test. She will offer something real, something soft. She may even show you her naked soul, not her body, not her charm, but the unadorned ache. If you flinch, she will pity you. If you praise it, she will own you. But if you receive it, quietly, without moving, you will be the first man she cannot punish for seeing her, because she will know you saw her all along, and you said nothing, not because you didn't care, but because you cared more than she could understand. You cared enough not to interfere with her becoming. You cared enough not to contaminate her collapse with your comfort. You cared enough to let her lose the mask by herself. And that is why she fears you, because you are not a man she can win. You are a man who allows her to lose with dignity. And if she stays, it will be as a woman, not a manipulator. If she speaks, it will be from silence, not strategy. If she loves you, it will be clean, not as repayment, not as proof, but as truth, the kind that needs no performance, no collapse, no thrones, just stillness. And if she leaves, let her, because the man who says nothing cannot be abandoned. He was never clinging. She will remember you in moments of quiet, not in passion, not in pain, but in the unbearable stillness between. When other men speak, she will hear noise. When they reach, she will feel the pull of debt. But your absence will echo deeper than their presence, not as cruelty, as a riddle. The man who said nothing left no promises, no claims, no lies, only the weight of her own reflection. And in that weight, she saw it, love without power, presence without possession, silence without fear. Perhaps she will return, perhaps not. It does not matter, because the throne remained empty, and the man she could never move is the only one she could not forget.